Hello, my name is Susan Anderson, but everyone calls me Sue. I'm 54 years old. I don't really know where to start my story, but I think I should probably begin with my daughter Katie's 20th birthday. That was the day everything changed. It was March, the year Katie turned 20. I went to the bakery to buy her a birthday cake, and my card got declined. That was strange. So I opened my banking app right there in the parking lot, and the account balance showed $1,500. As far as I knew, there should have been about $80,000 in that account. It was Katie's account, in her name. Katie has a developmental disability, so I was supposed to be managing it. Or at least, I thought I was managing it. That evening, I felt terrible. I couldn't even buy my daughter a birthday cake. We ended up having noodles at home for her birthday dinner. Katie held my hand and said, "Mom, it's okay. Your cooking is the best." When she said that, tears started coming, and I had to hide in the bathroom. But the strange thing started the next day. I went to the bank, and they told me the account was set up as joint ownership with my mother-in-law, Virginia. I had no idea. The bank employees showed me the recent transaction history, and my hands started shaking. Over the past 2 years, there were withdrawals of $3,000 to $5,000 almost every single month. The person making the withdrawals was always Virginia. I almost collapsed right there in the bank. The employee brought me water and had me sit down. 20 years. 20 years I'd been raising Katie, scraping together every penny I could, and it had all disappeared in 2 years. No, someone had taken it. Someone I trusted. Looking back now, I think that day at the bank was the turning point in my life. Up until then, I'd been good. I'd been patient. I just lived that way, thinking only about Katie. But walking out of that bank, I remember thinking, what have I been doing all this time? Why didn't I even know the password to my own daughter's bank account? My story is going to be long. It's 25 years worth. But if you'll listen all the way through, I hope it might help someone out there who's going through what I went through. I met my husband when I was 31. For my generation, that was kind of a late marriage. At the time, I was working as a bookkeeper at a small company. Dave, my husband. I met him through a friend's introduction. First impression, he seemed decent enough. Quiet type, but seemed dependable. You know what I mean? That solid feeling. Dave was working as a construction site manager at a mid-sized company. Good income, had his own place. His parents lived in Cleveland. I was from a small town in Pennsylvania, so my family was far away. I guess having someone with roots in the city appealed to me. We dated for about 6 months. Dave was the one pushing to get married quickly. He was 36 at the time. He said his parents wanted to see grandchildren, wanted him settled down. I was getting older too, so I didn't see any reason to wait, and we started planning the wedding. I still remember the first time I met his family. Virginia, my mother-in-law, looked at me that day and said, "My son is a good man. He'll treat you well. I'll be good to you too, so please take good care of my boy." At the time, I thought she meant it. The first 3 years of marriage were okay. Well, okay might not be the right word. Maybe I just didn't know any better. Dave and I lived in our own place, about a 30-minute drive from his parents' house. We'd visit on weekends, show up for holidays, that sort of thing. That was probably the happiest time. Dave treated me well enough. After work, we'd go grocery shopping together. On weekends, we'd catch a movie. First anniversary, we even took a trip to Florida. I still have photos from that trip. Looking at them now, my face looked so bright back then. I remember thinking, I really could smile like that. 3rd year of marriage, I got pregnant. You should have seen how happy Virginia was. She called every single day asking what I'd eaten, if I was feeling okay anywhere. She looked after me more than my own mother did, honestly. I was grateful at the time. Dave was happy too. We went on a baby moon, went shopping for baby things together. I remember the day Katie was born. On the way to the hospital with all our bags, Dave held my hand tight and said, "We can do this. You've been through a lot." When Katie was born, when Dave held her, I can still see his face. I'd been a little worried he'd be disappointed it was a girl. But Dave held Katie and cried. He said, "Our daughter is so beautiful. Daddy's going to protect you forever." That's what he said. Virginia seemed happy at first, too. I'd been nervous she'd be disappointed about a granddaughter, but she came to the hospital, looked at Katie, and said, "Our little angel is so precious." She even made me soup. Back then, I really thought Virginia was a good person. The problem started about 6 months after Katie was born. We went in for her regular checkup, and the pediatrician got this serious look on his face. He said her development seemed delayed, that we should go to a specialist hospital for more thorough testing. When I told Dave that night at home, I'll never forget his reaction. He just sank into the couch and didn't say anything for the longest time. I kept saying it'd probably be fine, maybe she was just developing a little slowly, but Dave just kept sighing. We went to the specialist hospital for testing, spent 2 months doing various evaluations, and when the results came in, I just froze in the doctor's office. Nothing the doctor said registered. Developmental disability. Intellectual disability. Level 2. She'll need lifelong care. Early intervention is crucial. Those words just echoed in my head. Dave didn't even come into the consultation room that day. He said he couldn't get away from work, but later I found out that was a lie. He just didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to hear that his daughter had a disability. When I got home, I called Virginia to tell her. I can't forget her reaction either. She was silent for a long time, then said, "We don't have anyone like that in our family. What about your side? Any relatives like that on your side?" Hearing that, I was just stunned. Katie is your granddaughter. But here she was, trying to blame someone. That day, after I hung up, I cried for hours. I wanted comfort from Dave, but Dave was in the living room drinking, just sitting there on the couch. From that day on, my life completely changed. Taking Katie to appointments became my daily routine. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, play therapy. 4 or 5 times a week, we were at the hospital or the community center. I had to quit my job, obviously. I couldn't work full-time and take Katie to all her appointments. Dave started coming home later and later. He'd come in reeking of alcohol, go straight to the bedroom without even looking at Katie. Whenever I tried to talk about Katie's therapy costs, he'd just sigh. One day I finally asked him, "Are you even Katie's father? How can you be so irresponsible?" Dave shouted at me. "What do you want me to do? The kid was born that way. What am I supposed to do? I'm having a hard time too. It's hard enough at work, and then I come home to this." That's what he said. Then he slammed the door and left. That night, I held Katie and cried for a long time. Katie wiped my tears with her little hands, saying, "Mama, Mama." It felt like my heart was being torn apart. This child hadn't done anything wrong. Why did it have to be so hard? Virginia's attitude completely changed around that time, too. She stopped answering my calls, and when we'd visit on weekends, she wouldn't even want to hold Katie. Once, I took Katie to her place. When some of Virginia's friends were visiting, I overheard Virginia saying to them, "My daughter-in-law had the baby that way. My son is so upset you wouldn't believe it. I think she didn't take care of herself during the pregnancy. I told her so many times to be careful." Hearing that, I froze in the living room. Katie was sleeping in my arms. Virginia kept going. "I think it's something genetic from her side. My son is perfectly healthy." She kept saying things like that. On the drive home, tears kept coming, and I couldn't keep driving. I pulled over on the side of the road and just cried for I don't know how long. Katie was in the back seat calling "Mama, Mama," but I couldn't even turn around. I just had my head on the steering wheel, crying. That's when I realized I was alone. No husband, no in-laws. My family was back in Pennsylvania, too far to visit often. My parents were getting older too. I didn't want to worry them. So I never told them how bad things really were with Katie. I just said she was developing a little slowly, that therapy would help her catch up. When Katie was 3, my older brother came to visit for the holidays and was shocked when he saw her. She still couldn't speak properly. Her walking was unsteady. My brother quietly asked me, "Sue, is Katie's condition pretty serious? Is the therapy covered?" I lied and said it was fine, that Dave's salary was plenty. Truth was, therapy was costing close to $2,000 a month. Dave's paycheck barely covered it. So, I started working odd jobs on the side. After I put Katie to bed, I'd go work the overnight shift at a convenience store. 4-hour shifts. Then I'd get home before Katie woke up. Dave didn't even know I was working those shifts. He said he was traveling a lot for work, going to different construction sites. Later I found out that was a lie too. But at the time, I didn't know. Or maybe I didn't want to know. When Katie was 4, we started art therapy at the community center. The therapist said Katie had talent for art. Her hand movements were improving. Her focus was getting better. I was so happy. My Katie was good at something. When I told Dave, he said flatly, "So what? Drawing pictures doesn't change anything." After that, I stopped telling Dave about Katie. He didn't care anyway. So why bother getting hurt? I figured Katie and I would just get by on our own. When Katie was 5, Virginia called me, said she wanted to talk about Katie's care, asked me to come over to the house. When I got there, Virginia and Dave's father and Dave were all sitting in the living room. Something felt serious. Virginia spoke up. "We want to help with Katie's therapy costs, but there's a condition. Open an account in Katie's name. We'll deposit money for therapy and donations there. But if you manage it alone, people might talk later. So how about we co-manage it?" Hearing that, I felt grateful. They were going to help us financially. Therapy costs had been such a burden. Dave chimed in too, saying it was a good idea. Right there, I said yes. The next day, Virginia and I went to the bank together and opened an account in Katie's name. Joint ownership. Virginia showed her ID. I showed mine. The bank employee explained something, but I don't really remember. I just signed whatever Virginia told me to sign. Virginia put $5,000 in that account that same day for Katie's therapy, she said. I was really grateful. I thought maybe I'd been too harsh in my judgment. Maybe Virginia cares about her granddaughter after all. After that, Virginia would occasionally deposit money into that account. 1,000 here, 2,000 there. She said it was donations. People from her church were donating to help Katie, she said. I was so thankful. I'd bow deeply every time I visited. But there was something strange. Virginia never told me the account password. When I asked, she said, "I'm worried if you manage it, it might get mixed up with household expenses. If I manage it, it'll be used strictly for Katie's therapy. You focus on taking care of Katie." At the time, that seemed reasonable. I wasn't great with money management anyway. It seemed better if Virginia handled it. I was so naive. No, I was stupid. When Katie was 7, an earthquake hit my life. I found out about Dave's affair. It was a Wednesday. Dave said he had a work trip, but he left his wallet in his travel bag. I rushed to his office in a taxi to bring it to him. When I got there, I tried calling, but he didn't pick up. So I waited in the lobby. Maybe 30 minutes passed. The elevator doors opened, and Dave came out, with a woman next to him. She looked about 10 years younger than him. The two of them were walking together, talking close, and Dave had his hand on her shoulder. I stood there frozen. Dave didn't spot me until he was almost at the front door. His face went white as a sheet. The woman next to him gave an awkward smile and walked out ahead of him. Dave walked over and asked what I was doing there. With trembling hands, I held out his wallet. "You forgot this." Dave took the wallet and told me to go home. I asked, "Who was that woman?" Dave answered, "A coworker. We had lunch together." I wanted to believe him. I really wanted to believe him. But that evening when I went to wash his shirt, there was lipstick on the collar. Pink, not a color I wore. When Dave got home from work, I was standing in the living room holding that shirt. "What is this?" Dave was silent for a long time, then sighed and sat down on the couch. Then he said this. "I've been struggling lately. Work's hard, and at home there's always stuff with Katie to worry about. That coworker's been looking after me, so I just bought her meals to say thanks. It's nothing else." I asked, "What about the lipstick?" Dave answered in an annoyed voice. "Must have gotten on there by accident when we were drinking. It's nothing. Why are you being so sensitive about this? Nothing, he said. I'm being sensitive. I stayed up all night that night. Dave went into the bedroom to sleep, and I sat on the living room couch all night. I stayed by Katie's door in case she woke up and needed me. After that, I started checking up on Dave. I tried to look at his phone, but the passcode had been changed. When I asked him about it, he said work made him change it for security. Obviously a lie, but I couldn't say anything. Dave came home later and later. Some nights, it'd be 1 or 2 in the morning. I'd wait in the living room after putting Katie to bed. Dave would come through the door, smelling of perfume. Not a perfume I'd bought him. One day, I couldn't take it anymore and asked, "You're having an affair, aren't you?" Dave shot up and shouted, "Why are you so suspicious? I'm out there busting my tail to make money. You just stay home with the kid. Nice and easy. I'm dying at work, and I come home to this?" I was speechless. I was the one with it easy? I was taking care of Katie and working night shifts, and he thought I had it easy? But I couldn't say those words out loud. Dave's angry face scared me. When Katie was 9, I found the hard evidence. A credit card statement came to the house. Dave must have forgotten to change the address. I opened it up, and there it was. Hotels, fancy restaurants, a flower shop, places I'd never been, line after line. I took that statement and went to Dave's office. I waited outside until he got off work and confronted him. I held up the statement. "What is this? What have you been doing?" Dave grabbed my arm and dragged me away. "Don't do this in front of the office." "What if people see?" I screamed. "I don't care if people see. You're having an affair, aren't you?" That's when I saw her, the woman getting off the elevator, the same one I'd seen in the lobby. She saw us and looked shocked. I ran up to her. "Are you the one? What's going on between you and my husband?" The woman stammered. I'm just a coworker, that's all." Dave pulled me away from her. He apologized to the woman, said I was going through a stressful time, that I was on edge. I collapsed right there. Dave was taking her side, not mine. That was the real shock. Dave lifted me up and whispered, "Please, stop it. You're embarrassing me. Let's talk at home." At home, Dave admitted it. He was dating that woman. It had been a year. He was in love with her. He wanted a divorce. I couldn't believe my ears. Divorce? What about Katie? What about our daughter? Dave answered, "You can have custody of Katie. I'll pay child support. Just give me a divorce." I screamed. "No, Katie needs her father. How are we supposed to live without you?" Dave said coldly. "I know you've been working nights. You can make it on your own. I can't do this life anymore." Hearing that, I had nothing to say. Dave knew about my night shifts. He didn't care if I was struggling or not. I got down on my knees. I knelt in front of Dave and begged, "Please, for Katie's sake, let's not split up. Tell me what I did wrong. I'll fix it. I'll fix everything. Just don't leave." I'll never forget the look in Dave's eyes when he looked down at me. Not pity, not remorse, just annoyance. Dave said, "Let me think about it. Give me time." Then he went into the bedroom and shut the door. I sat on the living room floor and cried. Katie was sleeping in the next room. Katie didn't know anything. She loved her daddy. What was I supposed to do? The next day, Virginia called. She said Dave was really struggling. Couldn't I compromise a little? Dave wanted the divorce so badly. If I kept holding on, it would just make things worse later. I told Virginia through tears, "I didn't do anything wrong. Dave cheated and you want me to compromise?" Virginia sighed and said, "I understand your position, but think about it. What have you done for him? You've been so focused on Katie, you've neglected your husband. Men need attention. If you can't give it to him, he's going to find it somewhere else." Hearing that, I just hung up the phone. It was my fault. I neglected Dave while taking care of Katie, so it was my fault he cheated. So having a disabled child was my fault, and taking care of that child was also my fault? From that day on, I was in a daze, feeding Katie, taking her to therapy, going to my night shift. I moved like a robot. Thinking hurt too much, so I tried not to think at all. About a month later, Dave told me. I've thought about it for another month, and I still want a divorce. But I can't do it right away, because of Katie. Let's just stay married on paper, but we'll live separate lives. I agreed to that arrangement. It was better than divorce. At least Katie could feel like she still had a father. Looking back, that was my biggest mistake, but I didn't know it at the time. After that, Dave barely came home. Maybe once a week on weekends, he'd show up just to see Katie and then leave. He kept depositing money for living expenses, though. At least there was that. When Katie was 12, the special school she attended had an art competition. Katie's painting won first place. The teacher called to tell me, and I was so happy I cried. My Katie did it. She could do things. On the day of the awards ceremony, I held Katie's hand and went. I called Dave, but he said he had a meeting and couldn't make it. I told Virginia too, but she said she wasn't feeling well, so it was just Katie and me. After the ceremony, on the way home, Katie held my hand tight and asked, "Mama, did I do good?" I hugged Katie. Yes, our Katie did so. So good. Mama is so proud of you. When we got home, there was someone standing at the front door. My brother, my second oldest brother, was standing there holding a box of cookies. "Sue, I heard Katie won an award. Your brother came to congratulate her." He ruffled Katie's hair. I cried so hard right then. Dave didn't come, the in-laws didn't care, but my brother had driven all the way here. I was so grateful. My brother looked at me and said, "Sue, you're having a hard time alone, aren't you? I'm going to send you some money for Katie's therapy." I said no. I knew my brother's situation wasn't great. I couldn't take money from him, but he forced an envelope into my hand. Later, when I opened it, there was $2,000 inside. That night, Dave came home late. On the dining room table was Katie's certificate and medal, but Dave looked at them and said nothing. I finally spoke up. "Katie won first place today. Why didn't you come?" Dave said in an annoyed voice. "I told you I had a meeting. What was I supposed to do? Skip the meeting?" I asked. "Katie is your daughter. Shouldn't her father show up when she wins an award?" Dave sank into the couch and said, "I'm on a huge project at work right now. I'm swamped. Katie did great. I know, but don't expect so much from me. I'm struggling too." That day, I decided to stop expecting anything from Dave. He didn't care anyway. Why should I keep getting hurt? Katie and I would be fine on our own. When Katie was 15, there was a memorial service at the in-laws' house. Dave's father had passed away. I took Katie with me. Dave had been staying at his parents' place since the day before. After the service, during the meal, family members were gathered around. They were looking at Katie and whispering. I could hear them. "Is that the granddaughter? She must be in pretty bad shape. Poor guy." Virginia was right next to them, and I heard her say, "The daughter-in-law can't even teach her properly. She's always running around taking her to therapy, never educates the child at all. That's why Katie turned out like this." Hearing that, I put down my fork with a clank. I looked at Virginia. What did I do wrong in raising Katie? Katie is a child who needs therapy. I'm doing my absolute best. Virginia looked at me and said, "You say you're doing your best, but I don't see her getting any better. Are you using the wrong methods? We've been paying for all this therapy with the money my son earns. And what's improved?" I stood up right there. I took Katie's hand and started to leave. Virginia shouted from behind me, "How can you leave in the middle of the memorial service? Where are your manners?" I didn't look back. I just walked out. Katie and I got on the bus and went home. The whole ride home, Katie held my hand tight. "Mama, are you okay?" I smiled at Katie. "Yeah, Mama's fine." That night, Dave called, furious. "Why did you talk back to my mother and walk out?" I was humiliated at the service. I answered, "Did you hear what your mother said to me? I've had enough too." Dave yelled, "Whatever she says, you have to put up with it. You're the daughter-in-law. You can't upset my mother." I hung up on him. I didn't need to hear anymore. After that, I rarely went to the in-laws' house, just showed my face on holidays and left right away. Virginia treated me coldly too. Dave saw all of this and said nothing. When Katie was 16, my mother passed away. She collapsed suddenly, was rushed to the hospital with a stroke. She lasted a week. I took Katie to the funeral. I asked Dave to come with me, but he said he had work and would come later. I told Virginia too, but she asked who would watch Katie, told me to go alone. I stayed at the funeral home for 3 days with Katie. My brothers saw me and broke down in tears. "Sue, Mom worried about you so much. She always said how hard it must be for you, raising Katie alone." Hearing that made me cry. I never told Mom how hard things were, but she knew everything. That's why she worried until the very end. During those 3 days, Dave never came once. He just sent a text saying he was too busy. Nobody from the in-laws came either. That's when I realized I really was alone. Nobody but my own family. When I got home after the funeral, Dave was sitting in the living room. He asked how it went. I answered, "It went fine. Why didn't you come? It was your mother-in-law's funeral." Dave made excuses. There was a huge contract at work. I absolutely couldn't get away. "I'm sorry." Hearing him say sorry meant nothing. What good were those words? He didn't care anyway. After that, I completely shut down. Toward Dave, toward the in-laws, Katie and I would just live our lives. Dave just had to bring in money, and the in-laws I'd just see on holidays. When Katie was 19, I met the most important person in my life, Katie's disability support worker. Her name was Lisa Mitchell. She was about 35, and she treated Katie like her own daughter. One day, Lisa carefully asked me, "Do you manage Katie's bank account?" I said Virginia managed it. Lisa tilted her head. "From what I can see, I think you need to verify whether the benefits and donations Katie should be receiving are actually being used properly." Hearing that made my heart drop. "What do you mean?" Lisa said carefully. "Looking at Katie's therapy schedule over the past few months, there should be quite a bit of government assistance. But have you ever checked where that money goes?" I said no. I told her Virginia managed everything, that I just had to focus on taking care of Katie. Lisa said, "Even so, you should check. It's an account in Katie's name. You're the guardian." That day I kept turning Lisa's words over in my mind. She was right. Why had I never checked? I trusted Virginia. She was Katie's own grandmother. Surely she wouldn't do anything wrong. The next day I called Virginia. I asked if we could go to the bank together to check Katie's account. Virginia asked why so suddenly. I said I just wanted to look, just to verify. Virginia thought about it for a few days, then agreed to go to the bank. When we got there and I asked for the account statement, I saw Virginia's expression harden a bit, but I didn't think much of it at the time. The bank employee showed us the transaction history. But something was off. Money kept being deposited, but the balance was lower than I'd thought. I asked the employee, "Can you show me the recent withdrawal history?" The employee turned the screen, and in that moment, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Over the past 2 years, there were withdrawals of $3,000 to $5,000 almost every month. The person making the withdrawals was Virginia every single time. I looked at Virginia. "What is this? Why has so much money been taken out?" Virginia stammered. That's, I used it for Katie's therapy." "What's wrong with that?" I asked the bank employee. "Can you check where this withdrawn money went?" The employee looked and said, "Most of it was cash withdrawals, and some was transferred to another account." I asked, "Which account?" The employee showed me the screen, and the account looked familiar. It was Dave's account, or more precisely, it was in Dave's name, but an account I didn't know about. I asked Virginia, "Why did you send Katie's money to Dave's account?" Virginia made excuses. He said he needed it for Katie's therapy costs, so I sent it. What's the problem? In that moment, everything made sense. Virginia had been taking money from Katie's account and giving it to Dave. And what did Dave do with that money? Probably spent it on that woman he was seeing. I walked out of the bank and called Dave. "Get home right now. We need to talk." Dave asked what about, but I didn't answer, and hung up. Dave came home late that evening. He frowned and asked what was so urgent. I threw the bank statement on the table. "What is this?" Dave's face went white. He stared at the papers for a long time, then sank into the couch and sighed. I shouted, "Answer me! Your mother sent Katie's money to you, didn't she?" "What did you do with that money?" Dave held his head in his hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't have a choice. Work had some problems. I needed money urgently. I asked Mom for help. I was going to pay it back." I laughed. "Pay it back? For 2 years? This is over $100,000. Dave kept making excuses. I was struggling too. Work wasn't going well. And at home, there was always stress about Katie. What's so wrong about using some of that money? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Katie's problem? Katie is the problem?" Dave said in an irritated voice. "Honestly, Katie ruined my whole life. This wasn't the life I wanted. I wanted a normal family." In that moment, I heard something snap inside me. A normal family? So our family with Katie is abnormal? Dave answered. "That's not what I meant. But am I wrong?" I collapsed right there. This person I'd lived with for 20 years thought this way. Thought of Katie this way. I asked, "The money you spent on that woman, was that Katie's money too?" Dave avoided my eyes. "Some of it might have been. But what does it matter? It's all family money anyway." I laughed. I couldn't help it. Family money? Then Katie's family too. "Why are you spending Katie's money on your mistress?" Dave jumped up and shouted, "Enough! Stop it! I messed up. So what now? You said no to divorce when I asked. So we have to live like this." Hearing that snapped me back to reality. He was right. I'd said no to divorce. Because of Katie. But had that been the right choice? I asked, "Are you still seeing that woman?" Dave answered, "Yeah, I'm still seeing her, and she wants to marry me. It's time we wrap this up. Katie's all grown now, almost 20. You can handle things yourself now." I looked at Dave. Was this man really Katie's father? Could he really abandon Katie this easily? I asked, "What are you going to tell Katie?" Dave answered, "Just tell her Daddy has to go live somewhere else. Katie won't understand anyway. What's her mental age? Really? Just tell her I'm on a long work trip. She'll believe it." I got chills hearing that. Did this man even see Katie as a person? I said calmly, "Fine, let's divorce. But I have conditions. The money you took from Katie, you're paying back every penny. And I'm getting alimony too." Dave laughed. "With what money? I'm in debt right now. Work's tough. I might quit soon. How am I supposed to pay alimony?" I answered. "You'll figure it out. I can press charges for embezzling Katie's money." Dave scoffed. "Go ahead and try. Mom was managing the account. What did I do? You got proof?" I had no answer. He was right. Legally, Virginia was the account manager, so it might be hard to go after Dave. That night, Dave packed his things and left, said he was going to that woman's place. I went into Katie's room and watched her sleep. Katie was sleeping peacefully, not knowing anything. I kissed Katie's forehead and whispered, "Katie, I'm sorry. Mama couldn't protect you." The next morning, I called Lisa, the support worker. I told her everything that happened the day before. Lisa sighed and said, "This is clear embezzlement. You need to press charges against your mother-in-law, and your husband is an accomplice." I asked her what I should do. Lisa told me, "First, contact the Disability Rights Center and go to legal aid. You can get free legal advice. You absolutely cannot let this slide. For Katie's sake." That afternoon, I went to the Disability Rights Center like Lisa said. I explained the situation to the counselor, and she made a serious face. This could qualify as disability abuse, economic exploitation. The counselor connected me with legal aid. I met with a lawyer and showed him the bank statements. The lawyer looked them over and said, "The evidence is clear. You can charge your mother-in-law with embezzlement. We can get your husband as an accomplice too." I asked the lawyer, "But she was a joint account manager. Is it still embezzlement?" The lawyer explained. "Even as a joint manager, that money is in Katie's name, It should only be used for Katie. Using it for personal purposes is embezzlement. I found my courage. I told him I wanted to press charges. The lawyer nodded and told me what documents I'd need. And one more piece of advice. Check if there are any loans taken out in Katie's name. My heart sank. Loans? The lawyer explained. In cases like this, perpetrators often take out loans in the victim's name. You should check. As soon as I got home, I ran a credit check in Katie's name. Looking at the screen, I almost screamed. There was a personal loan for $15,000 in Katie's name, taken out last year. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the mouse. Who took this out? Katie has a disability. She can't do legal transactions on her own, so a guardian must have done it. Virginia? I called Virginia right away. You took out a loan in Katie's name, didn't you? Virginia stammered. That's. I needed money urgently. I'll pay it back soon. I shouted. How could you do that? A loan in Katie's name. Do you know how serious this is? Virginia made excuses. Your son needed business funds. I had no choice. I was afraid if I told you, you'd want a divorce. I hung up on her. I didn't need to hear any more. These people only saw Katie as a cash cow. They thought because she had a disability, she'd be easy to exploit. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. 20 years. 20 years I'd endured and lived for Katie's sake. And it felt like it was all crumbling. The people I'd trusted had been using Katie all along. The next morning, before Katie left for school, she held my hand and asked, Mama, were you crying yesterday? Your eyes are red. I smiled at Katie. No, Mama didn't cry. Don't worry, honey. After Katie left for school, I went to the police station. I filed charges against Virginia for embezzlement. The officer asked, Your husband seems involved too. Do you want to include him in the charges? I nodded. Yes, include him. After filing the charges, my phone rang as I was leaving. It was Virginia. In a tearful voice, she said, Please, drop the charges. You'll ruin my son's life. I messed up. I'll pay the money back. I answered calmly. It's too late now. I put up with things for 20 years. For Katie. But you people just exploited Katie. The law will decide now. Virginia shouted, You ungrateful woman! After everything I did for you, I helped with Katie's therapy. And now you betray me like this. I hung up. That afternoon, Dave called. Are you crazy? Pressing charges against my mother? Against me? I answered. Compared to what you did to Katie, this is nothing. I'm preparing divorce papers too, so find yourself a lawyer. Dave laughed. Go ahead and divorce me. Think you can raise Katie alone? You don't even have money, I answered. Don't worry about that. I'll figure it out. You worry about yourself. From that day on, my war began. During the day, I took care of Katie. In the evening, I gathered evidence. At night, I studied legal issues. The lawyer said the more evidence, the better, so I documented everything. Bank transaction records, text messages, recorded phone calls, chat conversations. I screenshot everything Virginia and Dave exchanged. Evidence of money going into Dave's account. Evidence of that money being spent on his mistress. About 2 weeks later, the police called me in for questioning. When I got there, Virginia was there too. We didn't even make eye contact. The officer asked Virginia, Where did you use the money withdrawn from the victim's account? Virginia answered, For my granddaughter's therapy. The officer asked, Then why did you transfer it to your son's account? Virginia was speechless. She stammered, That's, my son said he'd pay for the therapy. The officer nodded and said, But according to our investigation, that money shows no trace of being used for therapy. Virginia's face went white. The officer continued questioning. You also took out a loan in the victim's name, correct? Virginia answered quietly. Yes. The officer asked, Where did you use that money? Virginia started crying. For my son's business funds. I was wrong. The officer sighed and said, This is clear embezzlement. We'll be forwarding this to the prosecutor's office. After the questioning, as I was leaving, Virginia blocked my way. "Please, have mercy. If I go to jail, what happens to our family?" I answered calmly. "Compared to what you did to Katie, jail is too good for you." Virginia shouted, "You're going to regret this. When you divorce my son and you're all alone, what can you even do?" I walked out without looking back. When I got home, Katie asked, "Mama, where did you go today?" I lied to Katie. "Oh, Mama had some work stuff to take care of." Katie nodded and said, "Mama, are you tired?" I hugged Katie. "No, Mama's not tired." But honestly, I was exhausted. Every day I wanted to cry. But I couldn't cry in front of Katie. She'd worry. So I'd put Katie to bed and then go to the bathroom and cry silently. Katie's 20th birthday was coming up. I wanted to buy her a cake, but I didn't have the money because of the money Virginia had taken. If I'd had that money, I could have thrown Katie a beautiful birthday party. I felt terrible that I couldn't do anything for Katie. On her birthday, I made soup at home, made some side dishes, made her favorite snacks, and set out a meal. Instead of a cake, I made pancakes and stuck candles in them. Katie blew out the candles and made a wish. After blowing them all out, she held my hand and said, "Mama, I'm really happy today. Your cooking is the best." Hearing that choked me up. I went to the bathroom and cried. When I came out of the bathroom, Katie was standing there. "Mama, were you crying?" I shook my head. "No, I just got something in my eye." Katie took my hand and said, "Mama, it's okay. All I need is you." Hearing those words, I made a promise to myself. I would protect this child to the end. Virginia, Dave, nobody would ever use this child again. About a month after filing charges, I got a call from the prosecutor's office. They said to come in for questioning. When I went, the prosecutor looked over the documents and said, "The evidence is solid. We'll be indicting the suspects." I asked the prosecutor, "What kind of punishment will they get?" The prosecutor explained, "Embezzlement usually carries a prison sentence. Given the amount, an actual sentence is possible. But considering it's a first offense and her age, she might get a suspended sentence." I nodded. A suspended sentence was fine. What mattered was having them officially acknowledge they'd done wrong, the prosecutor said. "And you should file a civil suit for damages too." I told her I was also preparing divorce proceedings. The prosecutor nodded and said, "That should go in your favor. Your husband's fault is clear." I started preparing for the divorce lawsuit with my lawyer. Evidence of Dave's affair, evidence of embezzling Katie's money, evidence of abandoning the family. We organized everything. The lawyer said, "With this much evidence, you'll easily get asset division and alimony." But there was one problem. There weren't many assets in Dave's name. Dave had lied. He still had his job. He had income, but he'd hidden all his assets. The lawyer said, "This looks like asset concealment. Let's petition the court for a property investigation." So we filed the petition. A few weeks later, the results came back, and I was shocked. There was a condo in Dave's name, a place I'd never known about. Turned out it was where he'd been living with his mistress. He'd bought it without me knowing. The lawyer said, "This is subject to asset division. Half of it is yours." Hearing that gave me some relief. At least I'd be able to find a place for Katie and me to live. The trial date was set. The criminal trial was first. Virginia and Dave appeared in court. Both of them looked haggard, but I didn't feel any sympathy. The prosecutor read the charges. The defendants, using their position as legal guardians of the victim, withdrew a total of $105,000 from an account in the victim's name and took out a $15,000 loan in the victim's name, using these funds for personal purposes. The defense attorney argued. The defendants intended to use the money for the victim. They temporarily used it due to necessity. There was no intent to embezzle. The prosecutor rebutted. Then why didn't they inform the victim's guardian? Why did they make secret withdrawals? The defense had no answer. The judge asked the defendants, "Do you wish to make a final statement?" Virginia stood up and said through tears, I was wrong. I exploited my granddaughter out of my own greed, under the guise of helping her. Please forgive me." Dave stood up too and said, "I was wrong too. I'm not qualified to be a father, but my love for Katie was genuine." Hearing that made me angry. Love? While stealing Katie's money? The judge delivered the verdict. Defendant 1, Virginia Anderson, is sentenced to 1 year in prison, suspended for 2 years. Defendant 2, David Anderson, is sentenced to a $5,000 fine. Both defendants shall jointly pay restitution of $120,000 to the victim. After the trial, as I was leaving, Virginia blocked my path. "Did you really have to go this far?" I answered calmly. "Compared to what you did to Katie, this is nothing," Virginia said through tears. "I can't even go to church anymore. I can't leave the house because of the neighbors. It's all your fault," I answered. "That's a consequence of your own actions." The divorce trial started too. Dave tried every trick to minimize the asset division. He claimed he had no assets, that it was all company debt, that the condo had a huge loan on it. All lies. My lawyer refuted everything: Dave's bank transaction records, the money spent on his mistress, the actual loan balance on the condo. We presented evidence for everything. I could see the judge's expression growing colder toward Dave. The judge asked Dave, "Why did you cohabit with another person while concealing this from your spouse?" Dave made excuses. "I felt the marriage had broken down, so I started a new relationship." The judge countered, "Then why didn't you file for divorce?" Dave had no answer. The judge continued, "Who took care of your child with a disability?" Dave answered quietly, "My wife did." The judge nodded and said, "You abandoned your duty to support the family, committed adultery, and used funds designated for your child for personal purposes. It's clear you bear full responsibility." The verdict came down. Divorce granted. Custody of Katie goes to Susan Anderson. David Anderson shall pay $2,000 per month in child support. The condo shall be sold and divided 50-50. David Anderson shall pay $50,000 in alimony. Walking out of the courtroom with the verdict in hand, my legs gave out. I'd won. I'd actually won. I sat on a bench in the hallway and cried for a long time. The lawyer sat next to me and said, "You did well. You fought hard." I bowed my head and thanked her. The lawyer said, "This is a new beginning. Live happily with Katie." That day when I got home, I told Katie, "Katie, from now on, it's just going to be the two of us." Katie asked, "What about Daddy?" I answered, "Daddy decided to live somewhere else." Katie nodded. "Then let's be happy, just us." The verdict enforcement began. Virginia and Dave had to pay the $120,000, but obviously they couldn't pay it all at once. The court placed liens on their property, Dave's bank account, and the condo. Dave called me sobbing. "Please show some mercy. I'm on the verge of bankruptcy right now. I lost my job too. How am I supposed to live?" I answered calmly. "That's your problem. Compared to what you did to Katie, this is nothing." Dave shouted, "You're going to regret this. Raising Katie is harder than you think. Think you can do it alone?" I answered, "I've been raising her alone for 20 years already. Don't pretend to care now." The condo was sold. After paying off the loan, about $70,000 remained. We split it 50-50, so I got $35,000. With that money, I found a small rental apartment, just the right size for Katie and me. I heard Virginia had to take out a loan against her house to pay the restitution. From what I heard, the in-laws were practically bankrupt. Dave lost his job and was working odd jobs, apparently. Hearing that news, I didn't feel any sympathy. Actually, I thought they were finally paying the price. Compared to what they did to Katie, this was nothing. After all the trials were over, I started looking for a job. Katie was 20 now, finished with her special school program, ready for vocational training. I figured it was time for me to rejoin society too. I got a call from the Disability Family Support Center. They said there was an opening for a counselor position. They thought my experience could help other families. I applied and got the job. On my first day of work, Katie held my hand tight and said, "Mama, fighting." I hugged Katie. "Thank you, Katie." Mama will work as hard as you do. Working at the center, I met a lot of families in situations similar to mine. Families struggling with disabled children while dealing with in-laws or spouses, making things harder. I shared my experience with them and taught them about legal options. One woman told me, "Thanks to you, I found the courage. I'm going to press charges too." I held her hand and told her, "You made the right choice. Being patient isn't a virtue. Fighting back is real love." Katie started vocational training in baking. It was a special program for people with developmental disabilities, and Katie worked really hard. Her instructor called to say Katie had talent, that she might even be able to get a job. Hearing that made me cry. Katie could have a job. Katie could participate in the economy. Dave said Katie would never be able to do anything, but Katie was proving him wrong. After finishing the training, Katie got hired at a disability-friendly bakery cafe. 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. But Katie was so happy. She'd say, "Mama, I made bread today." A customer said it was delicious. Seeing Katie's face light up like that made me tear up. Katie's first payday, she handed me an envelope. "Mama, this is for you." I waved my hands. "No, Katie, you earned that. You keep it." Katie shook her head. "No, Mama raised me. Now I want to help Mama." I hugged Katie tight. All the hardships flashed through my mind like a movie. When Katie was born, when we got the disability diagnosis, when I found out about Dave's affair, when I discovered Virginia's betrayal. All those moments. But now things were different. Katie and I were happy. It was hard, but we were happy. Nobody was using us anymore. We were living our lives. My brothers would visit sometimes. When I'd brag about Katie getting paid, they'd ruffle her hair and say, "Our Katie, we're so proud. Your uncles are proud of you." Katie would smile and answer, "Mama is more amazing." Watching that, I'd think, I did the right thing, didn't I? Fighting instead of enduring was right, wasn't it? Standing up for Katie was the right choice, wasn't it? Time passed, and now Katie is 25. I'm 54. It's been 5 years since the trials ended. We're still in that small rental apartment. It's not big, but it's perfect for Katie and me. The living room has Katie's drawings hanging up, and the kitchen always has bread Katie made. I'm still working at the Disability Family Support Center. I'm a team leader now. I train junior counselors and help more families. It's meaningful work. Katie became a regular employee at that bakery cafe. She works 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. Her salary went up too. She saves some of her paycheck and sometimes buys me presents. Last week, Katie bought me a scarf. "Mama, it's winter, so stay warm." I wore that scarf to work. When my coworkers complimented it, I bragged that Katie bought it for me. I haven't had contact with Dave in years. He paid child support for the first year only, then stopped. I could have taken legal action, but I didn't. We didn't need it anyway. Katie doesn't ask about Dave. When she occasionally asks, "Daddy, where is he?" I answer, "Daddy is living somewhere else." Katie nods and doesn't ask anything more. I haven't had contact with Virginia either. I heard the in-laws completely fell apart. They sold their house. They're in debt. Virginia lives alone in a small studio apartment, apparently. When I heard that, I felt complicated emotions. Not sympathy, just a sense that they were finally paying the price. Compared to what they did to Katie, it was deserved. Then about a month ago, it was a Saturday afternoon. Katie and I went to Walmart to do our grocery shopping. I was pushing the cart past the produce section when I felt someone staring at me. I turned around, and Virginia was standing there, in a wheelchair. Someone was pushing it from behind, and it was Dave. Dave looked a lot older, too. His hair was half gray. His face had deep wrinkles. Virginia called my name, Sue. I took Katie's hand and tried to just walk past, but Virginia called out again, "Sue, wait, please, I'm begging you." I stopped, turned around. Virginia was sitting in that wheelchair looking up at me. She'd aged so much. Deep wrinkles on her face, hair completely white. Virginia said in a shaky voice, Sue, please forgive me. I was wrong. I was wrong to Katie, wrong to you. Please, let me see Katie's face just once. I answered. No. What did you ever do for Katie? Virginia started crying.
I'm very sick now. The doctor said I don't have long. I just want to see Katie's face before I die. Please.
She reached out her hand toward us. I pulled Katie behind me. Katie asked from behind me, Mama, who is that lady? I answered, Nobody. Let's go. Dave stepped forward. Sue, please. Mom is really sick. She doesn't have much time left. Just let her see Katie's face. I looked at Dave. It was the first time I'd seen him in 5 years. Dave had changed a lot too. The confident look from his younger days was gone, replaced by someone tired and old. I asked, What are you doing with your life now? Dave answered quietly, I'm working at a convenience store, taking care of Mom. I nodded. I see. Playing the dutiful son now. Dave made excuses. Sue, I regret it so much. I really messed up back then. I laughed. Regret? Now? Dave looked down. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to see Katie's face. Just want to confirm she's doing okay. I looked at Dave, then said calmly, Katie is doing fine. Without you. Actually, maybe she's doing better, because you're not there. Dave had nothing to say. I continued, Katie is working at a bakery cafe now as a regular employee. She gets a paycheck. She has friends. She's doing all the things you said she'd never be able to do. Dave's eyes welled up with tears. That's good. I'm glad. I asked Dave, What about that woman you had the affair with? Dave gave a bitter smile. We broke up. When I ran out of money, she left. I wasn't surprised. It was an expected outcome. A relationship based on money ends when the money's gone. I said, I see. Do you understand now what real love is? Dave hung his head. I do. Leaving you and Katie was the biggest mistake of my life. I'm sorry. I told Dave. I don't need your apologies anymore. We're doing fine without you. Virginia shouted from her wheelchair. Sue, please, just Katie's face, just once. I'm dying soon. People around us started staring. I walked up to Virginia. I knelt down, so we were eye level. Looked Virginia straight in the eye and said, When you saw Katie only as a source of money, when you were draining Katie's account, when you took out that loan in Katie's name, did you think about Katie then? Virginia cried. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I kept going. Katie is your granddaughter, but you just exploited her. Was that love? Virginia looked down. I stood up and said one last thing. Right now, you say you want to see Katie, but that's for you, not for Katie. I'm going to make decisions for Katie's sake. I took Katie's hand and turned to leave. Katie squeezed my hand and said, Mama, it's okay. I don't know those people. Let's go. I looked at Katie and smiled. Yeah, let's go. As we pushed the cart away, I heard Virginia crying behind us, but I didn't look back. Katie didn't look back either. We just kept walking forward. After checking out and leaving the store, Katie asked, Mama, were those people Grandma and Daddy? I nodded. Yeah, Katie said. I don't remember them, and I don't want to see them. All I need is you. I hugged Katie, right there, in the Walmart parking lot. People were staring, but I didn't care. I whispered to Katie, Mama only needs you too. We're the best together. When we got home and were putting away the groceries, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, and it was Dave. Sue, I'm sorry about earlier, but could we maybe see Katie sometime? Mom really doesn't have much time left. I answered, No, Katie doesn't want it, and I don't want it either, Dave pleaded. Please, just once, can you at least send a photo? I said firmly. No, don't call again. Dave asked, Sue, can you really not forgive us? I answered, Forgiveness? That's for the victim to give. Asked Katie. But Katie doesn't even remember you. That's your answer." I hung up. My hand shook a little, but I didn't regret it. I'd done the right thing. For Katie. That evening, Katie ordered chicken with her paycheck. "Mama, let's have a party today," I asked. "What kind of party?" Katie smiled and answered, "Just a party to celebrate that we're happy together." While we ate chicken, Katie said, "Mama, I got complimented by a customer at the cafe today. They said my bread was really good." I held Katie's hand. "Our Katie is so amazing. Mama is so proud." Katie squeezed my hand and said, "Mama is more amazing. Mama protected me." Hearing that choked me up. I told Katie, "Katie, Mama will always protect you. For the rest of my life." That night before bed, I went into Katie's room. Katie was lying in bed looking at something on her phone. When I sat on the edge of her bed, Katie smiled and said, "Mama, tomorrow at the cafe, we're making cake. I'll bring you some." I stroked Katie's hair and said, "Thank you, Katie, but anything you make tastes good." Katie laughed. "You're the only person who says that, Mama." I left Katie's room and sat in the living room. Looking out the window, the moon was bright. I looked at that moon and thought, I did the right thing, didn't I? Finding the courage to fight was right, wasn't I? I remembered holding Katie for the first time 25 years ago. She was so small and beautiful. When I heard she had a disability, it felt like the world was ending. But now, it's different. Having Katie made me strong. When I pressed charges against Dave and Virginia, a lot of people tried to stop me. They said, "They're family. Does it really have to go that far? Just endure it." But I didn't endure it. For Katie's sake. And now, Katie is happy. So I know my choice was right. Katie isn't afraid of anyone. Not Virginia, not Dave. We're free. Next week is Katie's birthday. 25 years old. I'm going to buy her a cake. A big cake. Bigger than the one I couldn't buy her 5 years ago. And I'm going to tell Katie, "Katie, Mama is so proud of you. You made Mama strong. You make Mama happy. Thank you." On my commute to the center, I sometimes think, what if someone going through what I went through hears my story? Could they find courage? So, I want to say this. Being patient isn't a virtue. Patience doesn't make things better. You have to find the courage to fight, especially if it's to protect your child. The law isn't perfect. Trials are hard. They take a long time. But you can't give up. Gather evidence. Get help from professionals. Fight to the end. And most importantly, believe in your child. Don't let anyone tell you your child with a disability can't do anything. Katie proved them all wrong. She's doing it right now. Today, Katie went to work at the cafe too. As she was leaving this morning, she waved at me. "Mama, I'm heading out." I told Katie, "Be careful. Mama will pick you up after work." Katie smiled and said, "Mama, I can come home alone now. I know how to take the bus." I hugged Katie. "Even so, Mama wants to pick you up because Mama misses you." Watching Katie leave, I thought, my Katie has grown up so much. Taking the bus alone, going to work. She's doing all the things Virginia and Dave said she'd never be able to do. And I've changed too. I used to just endure everything. With Dave, with the in-laws. But now, it's different. I speak up. I call out what's wrong. When I counsel families at the center, I tell them that too. Don't endure. You didn't do anything wrong. Find your courage. A lot of them cry when I say that, and they thank me. One woman told me, "Hearing your story gave me courage. I think I can do it too." I held her hand tight and said, "You can do it." I did it. I guess I need to wrap up my story now. It was long, wasn't it? 25 years worth. But thank you for listening to the end. There's only one reason I'm sharing this story. If there's anyone out there going through what I went through right now, don't give up. Find your courage. Fight. You're not alone. And believe in your child. whether they have a disability or not. Children are so much stronger than we think. Give them a chance. They'll make it happen. Last weekend, Katie used her paycheck to buy me flowers. Mama, these are for you. Because you're the prettiest person in the world. I took those flowers and cried. From happiness, Katie asked, Mama, why are you crying? Are you sad? I shook my head. No, I'm crying because I'm happy. I'm amazed that our Katie has grown up so much. Katie held my hand and said, Mama, I'm happy too, because I have you. I hugged Katie tight. Let's live happily together for a long, long time. That evening, Katie and I sat in the living room watching TV. Katie leaned her head on my shoulder. I stroked Katie's hair and thought, this is happiness. Even without a lot of money, even without a big house, we're happy because we have each other and because nobody's using us anymore. One last thing I want to say. If you're out there raising a child with a disability, dealing with in-laws or a spouse making things harder, I hope my story helped even a little. Being patient isn't love. Fighting is love. Protecting your child is love. Find your courage. You can do it. And remember, you're not alone. There are people like me who fought and won. You can do it too. Katie told me this morning, Mama, today at the cafe, I'm gonna make a new bread. Chocolate bread. I'll bring you some. I said to Katie, thank you, Katie. Mama loves everything you make. Katie smiled and said, I love you most, Mama. Hearing that, I was certain I'd made the right choice. 5 years ago that day, when I discovered Katie's account was empty, it felt like my life was falling apart. But now it's different. We started over, and we're happy. Virginia is somewhere right now, probably full of regrets. Dave, too. But that's their problem. We're living our own lives just fine. The world is unfair sometimes. Raising a child with a disability is hard. People's looks can be cold. But you can't give up. Our children deserve to be loved. They deserve to be happy. And we parents do too. We're not just people who have to sacrifice. We have the right to be happy. The right to live with dignity. I'm confident now. No matter what anyone says, I have nothing to be ashamed of. Because I protected Katie. Because I fought and won. Tonight, Katie will sleep peacefully in her bed too, without any worries. That's what I wanted. For Katie to be safe and happy. One last thing I want to say to Katie. Katie, having you was the best thing I ever did in my life. You made Mama strong. You make Mama happy. I love you, my daughter. And to everyone listening to this story. Thank you so much for listening to my long story all the way through. I hope all of you find happiness. Take care.